Okay, that's good. I'm live on YouTube and Facebook. YouTube's been acting up this week, but it worked. So keep my fingers crossed. Okay. Hello, I'm just adjusting my YouTube webcam. Okay, we're just waiting for people to turn up. So. Oh, good. On YouTube, it's working. What's your first name, by the way? S. Beders. I'm talking to someone on YouTube here. What's your first name? You don't have to tell me. I'm just curious. On Facebook, I usually get people's real names, and then Instagram, some real names, some not. But at TikTok, it's hardly anyone that uses their real name. Sam from Belgium. I'm in the boot camp. Oh, excellent, excellent. One of my favorite places to visit was Antwerp. Back in 1980, I was in Europe, and Antwerp was my favorite city in Europe, in Belgium. Okay. I'm going to tell you a cute story while we're waiting here, because I'm just waiting for people to turn up. Okay, week 6 of boot camp, 6-year-old. I do see improvement on both of our side, parent and kid, however, slowly. Is it normal, or am I doing something wrong? Oh, no, it's a process, okay? You might just be missing something a little bit. Oftentimes, like in coaching, I'll get people who say, I'm doing everything you said, but then I'll just find something, oh, they're doing that. Or you're teasing the kids about something, or you're rolling your eyes at them or something. So you got to watch yourself. Keep it all business when you're disciplining, and keep it all fun the rest of the time. Light. Keep everything light and kind of cheery the rest of the time. I'm going to tell you a funny story while we're waiting for people to turn up. I just wrote it down because I keep forgetting to tell this. I think it's so cute. My son was, he was 8 years old, and he was, there was a new kid in his school who was from South Africa, and his name was spelled John, but he pronounced it Joan or something. Anyway, my son came home and he told me, he said, and I'm going to change my son's name when I tell this story, by the way. So anyway, he said, yeah, he said, this kid, he said, it's really weird. His name is spelled John, but he pronounces it Joan. And I said, well, sweetie, I said, you can pronounce your name. It's your name. You can pronounce it any way you want. And just like that, he said, okay, my name is Robert, but I pronounce it Braveheart. That was really clever. Very quick. But yeah, we didn't call him Braveheart. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. And if you look at the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting. Someone on here on YouTube just said they're in my boot camp course and they're doing well, but it's slow. Yeah, everyone goes at different paces. I got someone a few weeks ago in week 2. The success is just unbelievable in week 2. Now, they might just have really easy kids. Okay, so that could be part of it too. You might just have feistier kids. So, I don't know. It might not be you. It might just be you got feistier kids. In that 5-week course, or even with coaching, the work does not end after we do or after the course does. You got to keep going with it till it works. You'll just feel it when you set yourself up as a leader. You'll just feel it. You'll just know it. Just created our behavior board today. Can't wait. Excellent. Good luck with that. I invented that behavior board 16 years ago, and I have not changed it in 16 years. It's just rules and consequences for everybody, including the parents. If you're not on there, you're not a leader. You're a dictator. You got to be responsible. You got to be accountable for your own actions. Oh, you're asking about your grandkids? Yeah, I don't teach grandparenting. Because if I gave you advice, then it's not your kids. Yeah, I'm a grandmother. None of my business how they raise their kids. I stay out of that. My adopted 9-year-old gives me the dirtiest look when she's upset and talking back, also disrespectful to grandma. Well, I'm adopted, so what does that have to do with her disrespect? Work on your leadership skills, okay? Check out the boot camp course. That might be a good fit for you. It goes from the ages 3 to 12 years old. So that's in the link above. Okay, today we were crazy, blah, blah, blah. Crazy during the rainbows, right after a storm, over a snack I said no to. Everyone in the store was looking at us like we were crazy as I was running around the store making race car sounds with my daughter. Although she's only 2.5, our relationship has changed since starting the leadership parenting. Thank you. That's really cute. That's not quite what I recommend, being a race car and around the store, but good for you. What I was talking about there is, I'm going to read out my top 3 leadership qualities. That's what this parent's referring to. Is I say, number 1, these are my top 3 leadership parenting qualities. Number 1, you be calm during the storms. The storms are when you're disciplining or when your kids are out of control, tantruming, and that it's like a business transaction to you. There's no emotions. You stay completely calm. The second one is when everything's happy and nice, then be crazy, be goofy, have fun with your kids, run around the store, whatever you want to do. Be crazy and fun with them during the rainbows, okay? So calm during the storms, crazy during the rainbows. And then number 3 is be a great listener. Learn to listen to your kids and learn where they're coming from, okay? You'll just get to know them better. You don't listen to gather information, to lecture with. A leader does not necessarily even give advice. I know that sounds crazy, but you give feedback. So let them talk, let them work through problems, let them figure stuff out. And you're there to give feedback. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I remember what I did when I was your age. That might work. Your way might be better. So yeah, get them to express themselves. Be a good listener. You can use that with everybody, actually, with adults too. I don't even want to read that one about the rocks. Okay. Okay. This is the parent who's in the boot camp course. They're actually going through the webinars I just went to adjust my webinar, but I got the wrong piece of equipment. Who said, I think I need to put more effort into bonding and connecting. 99.9% of this is about connecting with your kids and getting close to them and having fun with them. That's 99% of it. The other 1% is the discipline. It's a tiny, tiny part of this. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. Find ways to bond with them, have fun with them, not when they're having a tantrum or anything, but as soon as they've calmed down, then you find ways of connecting with them. That pool story is a perfect example of leadership parenting. It's my pool story. I don't know where it is here on Facebook, but on Instagram and TikTok, it's the first video. It's pinned, and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting, but it's the pool story. I don't do my own videos, so I don't know what they call it. I'm pretty sure they called it Example of Leadership Parenting. My daughter does all my videos, all my marketing, all my campaigns, all my emails. She does all that stuff. And I don't have anything to do with that. She hates what I do, and I hate what she does. It's a perfect, perfect partnership. I hate all that editing and everything. And she doesn't like being in front of the camera. So I'd rather be here talking to you guys than anywhere else. This is my favorite part of my job, is the coaching and this. Okay, I'm just waiting for questions here. So I got to take a sip. I'm thirsty. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. I'm glad you asked this, Kendra. That's a long name. Kendra Renee Dennis. It can't be Denise with 2 N's, or is it? Sorry, it scrolled ahead on me. Just a second, I'm going to try and find it. Oops. And McPhee. Okay, maybe a question with an obvious answer, but just want to clarify. Behavior board can have multiple behaviors? No. Should everyone have an equal amount? It's one behavior, one rule, one battle per week. So the first week you have one behavior board, one rule for everybody. They can be the same if you all hit. Well, you can't put attitude for the kids. If the parents yell, you put no yelling. You can't put that for the kids. It's too broad. It's not. It's in the attitude department. You don't address attitude. That happens organically as you get better at this. Their attitude will improve. But so one rule per person. Okay, and then the next week you have one rule per person. And so now you've got two battles, 2 rules for everybody. Week 3, same thing. Now you got 3. You never go past that. So yeah, just one. And because you got to master one. One's hard enough. You're learning how to do this. This is the behavior board's a teaching tool. Like I do everything in day 1, but I'm level 10 with what I teach. So obviously I should be level 10, right? Or else I wouldn't be I just invented all this stuff anyway. It's all my own stuff. I learned all this just through kids. They taught me all this. But yeah, the behavior board is a teaching tool. You're learning how to do this. It's about connecting and disciplining. So you bond with your kids and you discipline them, make them accountable. I'm not going to answer you about the rocks. You got to keep rocks out of their grasp. That's all. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Um, bu- 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 Okay, these are my, and this number 2 will apply to you. Number 1, I mean. Number 1 will apply to you. Okay, these are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Child-proof, that's what you do. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is you enter their world to connect with them. You don't connect with a 2-year-old at the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They just look at you differently when you get good at this. Number 4 is when you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world. They're about actions, not words. Okay, it's about consistent corrective actions and repetition, repetition, repetition. They won't learn the first time, probably not the first 20th, maybe the 50th or 51st time, because they learn through repetition. That's all. It's like a knee-jerk reaction kind of learning. Anyway, and you know these all these mini therapy sessions that are so popular right now, discussing all their big emotions and big feelings. It's a bunch of garbage. It's absolute crap. Toddlers do not need a therapy session. They need actions. I don't know who invented all that. I don't know. Anyway, number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like, come on, they're just forming. Your expectations of toddlers are up here. Their abilities is down there, okay? So yeah, narrow the gap. What is your relationship? Oh, I don't discuss my kids. Not as adults. I just don't. I'll tell you what, my son is a father now. He's 34. My daughter's 29, and she manages all my social media, all my videos. She does everything behind the scenes. I do the business stuff, and I do all the parenting stuff, but she does all the marketing. If you get an email, that's from my daughter. If you see a video, she's edited all that. So yeah, so she does all that. We see each other every morning and go through all this. We don't go through it all. We just talk about it. Because we're very lucky because she hates what I do. She hates being in front of the camera kind of stuff. And she likes to be behind the scenes. And I hate what she does. I hate all the video editing and all the, that marketing stuff. She loves all that stuff. So yeah, it's like we almost have 2 different businesses. Like she never tells me what to do, and actually she tells me what to do because it's all the marketing stuff. But yeah, it's a great partnership. So very lucky. We get along really well. And my son, he's a dad now, so it's very exciting to watch that. But I don't discuss their lives because that's their privacy, right? I have a 4-year-old that's constantly saying no and throwing things in him. Okay, he's out of control. So check out my boot camp course. It might be for you. It's all about your leadership. Remember, their behavior between the ages of 3 and 12 years old is 100% a direct result of your parenting. That says he doesn't respect you. He doesn't have a leader that he can look up to. Yeah, that's all that says to me. So check out the boot camp course. At the very least, check out the behavior board. That's completely free. And it teaches you how to be a leader. When you lead, they will follow. Past the age of 4, they only do what works. Really 3 years and 9 months. They only do what works. That means there's got to be a payoff for that. He must be getting away with stuff or he must be upsetting you. Either one is a win for him. Okay. Okay. How many toys and what kind plays for the toy rotation system? Okay, toy rotation is something that I'm sure other people have invented it also, but I just did it with my kids. I just thought, why on earth? I'm really fussy. I like my home to look nice, so there was no way I wanted a bunch of toys around. When the kids were playing, yeah, stuff everywhere. But they only had like maybe 5 toys out at any given time, but they could have Lego out or big blocks, the big stuff they could have out all the time, but they could only have one of those big things out one at a time. So let's say they decided to play with Duplo or Lego, depending on the age, then they could have that out in the living room on the coffee table. I'd put like a blanket out so I could scoop up all the pieces later. And then I'd say, okay, that can stay out there for a week or when you stop playing with it every day. So they could only have one big activity out at any given time. And they knew the rules. They were really good about that. But yeah, I just kept everything to a minimum. And then when I told my kids to clean up, they had 5 toys to put away. That was it. And I had a bookshelf. I like everything to be visual. I still love bookshelves. Anyway, and then I had an empty shelf where all their toys got put. So literally, when I said put your toys away, it was probably 1 minute, and they just had to line up 5 toys on a bookshelf, and that was it. I never put books away. I never put like things that they like to sleep with, like a teddy bear or something. You don't put love away or anything that's that they love to cuddle with or anything. So yeah, and then maybe once a week. Well, I did it probably once every 3 months with my kids. We were out and about a lot. We lived in Australia, so you are outside a lot, and in that weather. Anyway, but yeah, maybe as soon as they started looking a bit bored, I'd just say, "Let's put all your toys in a box." I'd put them up top, and I'd bring out a box, and they could choose 5 more toys, and that would be it. I never got email with behavior board, even after confirming email. I don't even usually answer those emails anymore because you've usually put the wrong email in. Every single person that's happened to, it's either gone into your spam or you've entered the wrong email. So just re-sign up again with the right email. And yeah, I sometimes will answer those emails, but it's just that every single time, because I have a really hard time getting through all my emails. And if it's just that you put in the wrong email, it's kind of frustrating for me. Do you know what I mean? Because it's always that. Actually, or else it goes into spam. It's one of the two. So just maybe sign up again, and double check your email. Lots of people do .com for the behavior board. You use whatever you want, but it should be big and it should be in a high traffic area. You know those poster boards? They're just big cardboard things. They're called poster boards. You get them at the dollar store. Just get 3 of those. You can put them all up now and then just write down the one that you're working on. Then the next week you can write the second one down. So yeah, however you want to set it up. It's up to you. There's no rule with this. It's just whatever works in your house. Okay, this is my absolute least favorite coaching family dynamic to get. It's a mom with a newborn and toddlers. Because what can I tell her? Like, drop the newborn and go over to your toddler. Like, you're kind of stuck. You just have to wait it out. You just have to wait it out. It's going to be a really rough time. While that toddler adjusts to having a new baby in the house, knowing that you're trapped, they're going to run around and get in trouble. So yeah, try reading to them or something. But yeah, it's just a really rough transition time. And everyone wants me to solve the problem. It's not a solvable problem. You got a newborn and a toddler. It's tricky. I do have a few ideas that I hand out, but overall, it's going to take time. Alternative to 24-hour media blackout. I'm sure I would have put it in there. Just take away something that they like, that they play with every single day. If not, buy them something new that they absolutely love and take that away for 24 hours. So it's called inventing leverage. You might have to buy it or get something new. Does your children follow your advice? So I only have one grandchild. That's my son's little girl. And when my kids were growing up and young adults, they always said that they were going to parent the way I parented them. But then, they're going to have their own style, and it's really none of my business. So we'll see how they parent. They may do a better job than I did. I don't know. So yeah, I'm not a bossy type. Like, I just don't ever tell my kids what to do. So, and I'll never. And if you give advice to your kids on parenting, you're actually insulting their parenting. So I wouldn't want to do that. That's none of my business. I'll just sit back and be a grandma. She's only like 4 months old today, actually. She's 4 months old. What's your advice on toilet training? It's a whole system. I have a potty training course if you're interested. It's in the link above. It's called Potty Party, or I don't know what I called it. Anyway, it's a potty training course. I think that and the tantrum are my 2 most popular courses. But yeah. I have 8 babies. Oh my goodness. And I agree with everything you talk about 100%. Yeah, the more experience you get with kids, the more likely you are to agree with me. As a lot of new parents or inexperienced parents tend to do what makes sense to them, you got to do what makes sense to your kids, right? Meet their needs, not yours. So yeah, but anyone who's raised a lot of kids usually goes, yeah, I get what you're saying. That reminds me of that story when my kid's true story. My son was 3 and it was his second to last tantrum. We were in a mall and he just decided to have a tantrum. We weren't doing anything he didn't like or anything. We were actually leaving the mall. He was happy to be leaving. Anyway, he decided to throw himself on the ground and have a tantrum. So I pulled out my nail file and just stood there filing my nails, waiting for it to end. And I'm just standing there, and I guess I was calling attention to myself because I'm filing my nails with a screaming kid. So all these new moms kept coming up to me. Oh, you should give him a hug, talk about his feelings. I'm like, oh, good, keep moving. Because I had lots of experience with kids before I had my own. But all these grandmothers and moms with older kids kept coming up to me saying, good on you, you know what you're doing. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. So anyway, he eventually got up and I said, oh, you all done? Okay, let's go. He only had one more tantrum after that. Didn't last that long. So I'm scrolling ahead so that I make sure people are here when I answer their question. Okay, I have 3 girls, 1, 4, and 5, having a hard time coming up with consequences that impact them. The 2 older ones don't care what consequences I choose, feeling overwhelmed. Okay, well, the baby obviously is not on the behavior board. Behavior board starts at 3. So you just put a consequence like they have to do a chore. It doesn't have to be anything meaningful. It's just like if you break a rule, remember just one rule per week, right? If they break that rule, then they have to do a good deed. It can just be washing one window, wiping down the floor, what are those things called? The edging around the floor, baseboards, wiping down the top of the baseboards, wiping down the fridge. It could just, and the chore should be done within 15 minutes of being asked to do so, something like that. But the chore shouldn't take 15 minutes. It should be like a 2-minute chore. But if it's not done within those 15 minutes, then 24-hour media blackout. Once you've said it, it has to happen. Even if they run and do the chore, oh well. You still got 24-hour media blackout. Not fair, I did it. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? They'll learn. I get lots of different, I've had a good week with clients. A lot of them are doing really, really well. And the ones who do the best are the ones who've been following me the longest. They get it's all them. It's not their kids. Parents who tend to blame their kids get more frustrated. You know, like whenever I was working with kids or troubled teenagers, whenever they messed up, I always thought, what am I missing? What am I doing wrong? I always took responsibility for kids who weren't even mine. If they were under my mentorship, my care, I took responsibility for their behavior. So the quicker you do that, the quicker the results you're going to get. The biggest mistake parents make is over-explaining. They get pulled into that. And the more you explain, the more they complain. So don't get pulled into that. But why? Why did it? I'd say, I already said, I'm not going to discuss it again. But why? I say, whatever. There's no way I would explain myself. When you know they understand and it only takes one time. You know, parents are very quick to tell me how brilliant their children are. Then all of a sudden, when the consequence comes out, they become complete morons. I didn't understand. I didn't know. They're bubbling idiots, evidently, after they get a consequence. So yeah, I don't explain myself. They know. They know. It's like the pool story. Remember I told you the pool story a million times? Oh, time is it? Oh, thought I was late for Instagram. Okay. Sorry, freaked out. I'm often late. Alexa, start 6-minute timer. I don't want to be late for Instagram.
Starting now.
Okay. Do you have courses that target kids with autism? No, there's not a big enough market for that for me, and I don't really specialize in that, but it comes up a lot in coaching. So I only deal with parents with children with special needs in coaching. So, and some of these methods can work beautifully for children with autism or Down syndrome or whatever. It just depends on their ability to understand it all. That's all. So, yeah. How well does it work if only one parent is good at remaining calm? It's often a point of contention between. Yeah, you're asking me how do you get on the same page with parenting. Just say to the other parent, look, just defer everything to me. So if they start getting upset, just say, just leave the room, just leave it up to me. The leader is the one that the kids end up telling everything to. The leader is the one that gets extremely bonded to the kids. So yeah, that once parents start to get on board with this and realize that, they often fight over who wants to be the leader because it is the prized position. Chores from 3. So chores from a 3-year-old. My kids at 3 years old had 3 chores every day. They had to put their toys away, which was 5 toys because I did a toy rotation system. And I'm very organized. Like I just had one little shelf in their room and a bookshelf. And that's where all their toys went. So, and then they had to make their bed every morning. 1 duvet, just flip it up. And they had to put away their clothes every day. there because I did laundry every day, and I'm minimalist and I'm very organized. So they had an empty hanger and they had empty spots where the rolled up undies went. The rolled, you know what I mean? Like it took literally when I said do your chores, it took under 2 minutes, and they'd run around doing them. They never thought anything of it. They didn't know any different. So yeah. Like they'd literally get out of bed and just pull the duvet up. I'd go in afterwards and make it neater, but okay, how can I encourage my 2-year-old to be gentler with his newborn sister? You can't teach a newborn about, soft spots on the head, concussions, death, smothering. You just have to keep that newborn safe. Protect the newborn from the 2-year-old. Every time they go, don't teach them how to be gentle so much as just keep, just say no when they hit. You can try saying, go like this, but sometimes they're just going to hit anyway. You're expecting too much from a 2-year-old. They don't understand newborns. So yeah, they'll eventually learn. Just keep correcting them, say no, don't hit. And I had a friend obviously years ago, our sons were 2, they're 34 now. Anyway, and she had a new little baby girl. And our boys were 2, and they were both very gentle, well-behaved little boys. And that's why we got together quite often, because our little boys played so well together. And they were often the victims. Like if there was a nasty little boy, they would go for our boys because they wouldn't fight back, right? So it was a really nice mix, these 2 little gentle boys. Well, he had a baby sister, and he decided he didn't want her around anymore. He took her out of the bassinet and threw her on the floor. And this was a very gentle 2-year-old. He didn't understand. To him, it was like taking a toy out, right? So yeah. Pretty horrific, eh? And he was a really sweet, gentle little boy. He didn't understand a newborn. Don't expect too much from them. When your grandchildren are in your care, do you follow your method? Well, my granddaughter's only 4 months old, but I always told my kids this. I said, they know I'd never tell them how to live their lives or parent or anything. It's just not my style. Because it's insulting when you correct your adult kids. Like, it's insulting. So, and it's all about, God, I hate that bossy stuff. Anyway. Like my mother never told me how to live my life ever. And, but yeah, I always said, but when they're your kids, it's none of my business how you parent. But if I'm babysitting, grandma's rules. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you trust someone enough to drop your kids off, don't micromanage them. Let them have their own style with those kids. It's okay. Your kids will understand that different rules at grandma's or different rules, everyone's a little bit different. They have to learn to adapt to that because daycare has different rules than home. School has different rules. The karate class has different rules. They will adjust to that quite quickly. Actually, they get very good at it. You watch a 2-year-old, if they've got a really good, strict grandmother who doesn't take any crap, they're usually a lot better with that grandmother than they are with the pleaser parents that are, you know what I mean? The ones who give in all the time. And they're little, they can catch on to that. So yeah, I think my kids will be really good parents. I think my son actually will be more the pleaser. I think his girlfriend's got it pretty figured out. I think she'll be the leader. They both agree with that too. So. I don't quite understand the question here. Oh, shoot, I have to go to Instagram now. I'm moving over to Instagram now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting, because I flip around from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok, but I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where all these lives are saved. Anyway, if you're going to join me over on Instagram, I'm Bratbusters Parenting over there also. Otherwise, you can check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. So the boot camp course goes from 3 to 12 years old. It's all about you. 5 weeks to get respect. Set yourself up as a leader. Anyway, happy parenting. Bye now. Alexa, stop timer.
6-minute timer canceled.
Alexa, start 28-minute timer.
28 minutes, starting now.
Okay. I'm often late. Okay, you said my daughter, it's on YouTube. Your daughter's doing a great job, especially the videos on YouTube with the Q&A. You can select the questions that can say, oh, interesting, love the content. I don't have a clue what she does. I never look at my social media stuff. So, because I don't like it all, like I just don't get it. So yeah, I don't look at what she does at all. I don't have a clue. She's the expert at that. It's funny, she just came on board just to help me out, get me started with figuring out marketing and social media. And turns out, yeah, she ended up really enjoying it. So now she's a very integral part of my business. Any tips for potty training a 2.5-year-old boy? Okay, well, I'm not going to address what's not working, which is what you put down there. But check out my course. I have a mini course on potty training. I trained my son in 1 day, my daughter in 2 days. No pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. But I was already a leader. But it is a good way to get some leadership under your belt too. It's a whole system. I can't go into it here because it's a whole system. How you set up the house, it's a party. It's all positive. It's a party. Just you and your kid. Have you always been the leader parent? Yeah, I always was. I started volunteering with kids in daycare centers when I was 11. I also started babysitting neighborhood kids when I was 11 years old. I just always had that mothering instinct. And when I was volunteering in daycare centers, the ladies there, I remember this. I was 11 years old. It was in grade 6. And I remember the daycare ladies saying, "How do you do that?" And I said, "What?" And they said, "The kids love you, but they respect you. They do whatever you say." And I didn't know how to answer that. So I think I was just innately meant to do this, to be honest. I'm not good at a lot of things, but kids always came easy to me. When are you live? Yeah, I go live. I used to go live every single day. And the only days that were scheduled were Tuesday and Thursday. The rest of the days are a bit of a crapshoot because it just depends on my schedule. Because most of my days are spent coaching one-on-one with clients, right? And so yeah, it just depends on when I can fit. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for it or I'm too busy. If I get really strung out, like talking, if I'm talking all day, depends on what kind of clients I've got too. Some of them I really get worked up because they're going through a lot. So I just put a lot of energy into coaching when they're really struggling with teenagers or something. So if I've had a really rough day, just doing a lot of talking and that kind of, I always say talking parents off the cliff kind of stuff. I don't have the energy for a live, so I don't always do it anymore. My business has gotten super busy too. So I do try and get on here as much as possible. But I think last week was the longest I've gone. I went 5 days without doing a live. Around Friday through Monday, I didn't do a live. And that's the longest I've gone in 2 years of not doing a live. I just didn't have time. By the way, I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and some people come up to me, some people don't, but I get a lot of funny looks, and I know they probably recognize me. Come up and say hi if you see me out in the street. Just don't ask me parenting questions. I always answer like this: I'm off the clock right now. So yeah, but yeah, come up and say hi. I'm happy to meet you because often people, and I can just tell they're staring at me, and then they'll look away when I look. I'm quite approachable. Although I don't look that way. I got kind of nasty walking fast face because I'm a city girl, right? So you know how you're always like, I always look like I'm going somewhere, but I am. I'm usually going somewhere. But I'm quite happy to talk to a parent. Does every member need to be on the board or only if needed, please? Yeah, everyone has to be on there, even babies. And then I put down, if they're under the age of 3, I put down be a baby. Like that, every name should be on the board, except if you've got a parent who refuses to do it. Get them off the board. Don't even put them on. But all the kids have to be on there. Yeah. So it's one parent showed me the board they made. They were so proud of it. But they had like 4 kids and only one. I called them the target kid. There's usually one that's the target, right? The one that's really challenging. They only put that one kid on there. In other words, you're rotten. All your siblings are great. I thought that was hilarious. So yeah, everyone has to be on there. How to become a leader to a 9-year-old boy? That's a very big question. I spend years telling people how to do this. So anyway, but I've got a fast track system. That's my boot camp course. You can look into that. It's in the link above, and it's 5 weeks long. Teaches you how to be a leader. I've got one more group Zoom session coming up this Saturday. It's the last of a series that it's just a one-off thing I was doing. Because I wanted those sessions for the course. I wanted to put them in the course, and that's why I did those. So, and also I wanted to find out how you're doing. That course, the boot camp course, is less than a year old. I think I did it like 10 months ago. I think I published it. And so I thought, well, it's a year now. I want to see how it's doing because I don't, coaching, I get direct feedback, but in my courses, I don't. So I want to know and sometimes people, I can't remember which course it is. One of the courses, people say there's not much in it. I think it's the tantrum one. And a couple people have said, but I want to know about this, about that. And it's all stuff that has nothing to do with tantrums. Also, I've been through that course many times. I've looked at it. Everything you need to know about tantrums is in there. I'm not going to beef it up with stuff you don't need to hear about. It's just going to confuse you. So the tantrum one is right to the point, tells you exactly what to do with tantrums. And I don't put other stuff in there. Before I take your course, I would like to know about your children as adults, where they ended up. Well, I don't really discuss my kids as adults. I just answered something like this on Facebook, I think. Anyway, my son's 34. He's a dad now. My daughter's 29, and they're both married. Or my son, they're common law. And my daughter she does all my social media, all my marketing, all my emails, all my campaigns. She does all that stuff. And, but yeah, I see her every morning. She lives right down the road from me, 5 minutes away. So, yeah. So we work together. And, yeah, they're great kids. But I don't discuss their lives because that's private, right? They're adults. I do discuss them like when they were growing up. Okay, 4.5-year-old likes to start fights out of nowhere. Like we'll be laughing 1 minute, then she suddenly turns on me unprovoked. Well, I don't know what that's a tell. It means it's something about you. There's something you're doing, or it must get under your skin. It must bother you. She's going, "Whew, wonder if I can do that again," and then she'll do something. So it must bother you. I just get up and walk away. Is that her job? Is that my daughter's job? She's a partner in my business. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to talk about my kids' lives. I don't want to talk about what they do. But yeah, she is definitely, it's something she does. Yeah. What degrees do you have? I have none. I learned all this from volunteering with kids for the last about 52 years now. And I remember I was 20 years old and I thought, well, I'm going to be a child psychologist. It just made sense to become a child psychologist, right? For me. And after a week, they kicked me out of this course because I asked too many questions. And the other students started asking me questions. What they were talking about was crap. This was 43 years ago. It was garbage. It was all this holier than thou, trying to outsmart kids. I don't do any of that. So patronizing. Anyway, I completely disagreed with everything they were teaching. Thank God I never did that. And I'm sure they've improved it by now, right? But that was 43 years ago. So yeah, I just realized that my work was better spent volunteering in hospitals, daycares, schools, homes. I got some clearance from the government to go into homes and all sorts of hospitals and care centers and psych wards and detention centers. And I was always volunteering with kids and working with them. So I always was pretty good at getting the best out of kids. I find them fascinating because we were all kids once. If you can understand kids and teenagers, you have a better understanding of yourself. Yeah, so anyway. See, I don't have any degrees, thank God. If I had to work under anyone else's command and under some degrees, boundaries, oh, it'd be a disaster. I can say whatever I want. I'm just a parenting coach. So yeah, without the degrees, without the legal bindings around me with that, I'm free to say what I want. Thank God. Okay. Kids have so many toys. How can one possibly rotate 100 plus toys? Well, give most of them away. Yeah, if my kids didn't like something and didn't play with it heartily, like didn't really enjoy it, it was donated for sure. I didn't keep a lot of stuff around, but then I'm kind of more of a minimalist anyway. Yeah, I got rid of them. Get rid of them. What do you mean? How can you possibly rotate 100 plus toys? Keep 5 out and then just pull out and then put them away at the end of the week and pull out 5 more and rotate what they never play with. You watch what they play with, and the next time, rather than putting it back in the box, put it in the donation box. I'm great at decluttering. I hate hoarding stuff. Yeah, kids don't need to keep stuff that they look at and then throw across the room, or they might play with it for 2 minutes. I would get rid of it. What a waste of space. I just wouldn't keep it. Daughter, 9-year-old, she always has something to say back. So she's got attitude that just says it's a tell. It means you're not a leader. Work on your leadership skills and she'll respect you, and then that wouldn't happen. You're trying to fix her. You don't do that. You teach yourself. You fix yourself, not your kids. They will follow. Set yourself up as a leader and they will follow. Everyone wants to blame their kids for their behavior. It has nothing to do with them. It's your lack of leadership. That's why they act out. So their behavior between the ages of 3 and 12 is a direct result of your parenting. So work on yourself. That's what I teach. I teach parenting. I don't teach kidding. They already know how to be kids. Oh, someone else said what degrees. I already answered that one. Yeah, I don't have any. But a lot of my clients do. I would say, I don't know what percentage, maybe 30% now. It used to be higher. But I've got a lot more international clients now, so because I'm on social media more now. But a huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists, daycare workers. I couldn't do any of their jobs. Those are jobs. They're business. They're institution-based. Parenting's personal. It's just different. A lot of what works in those jobs does not transfer over to the home. So that's why they hire me. How can I work on myself to better that? Well, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board or my boot camp course. They're both based on your leadership. The behavior board is completely free. I'm going to read out. I don't know, there might be some parents here with teenagers. Most parents who turn up to these lives tend to have littler kids, but I do specialize in teenagers. That's my favorite age. But I'm going to read out my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers, because you're all going to have teenagers one day anyway. So it's something to keep in mind. Things do shift and change when they're teenagers. And the thing is that when they're toddlers, they're kind of crazy anyway. You're just kind of trying to manage their environment and that when they're little. But when they're 3 to 12 years old, they can learn to stop and think before they act. And their behavior is a direct result of your parenting. So you're at the height of your leadership skills, 3 to 12 years old. 13 plus, you want them to become more their own leaders, okay? You don't want to micromanage them. So teenagers are different. You have to shift your parenting. The reason why they rebel is because you haven't shifted your parenting. You don't understand them. My son was 15 and he said to me, he was kind of mad when he said it. He goes, I could never even rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to. I didn't know whether to apologize or celebrate, but anyway, I thought, what was I supposed to say to that? Anyway, so yeah, there's nothing to rebel against because I understand teenagers. So anyway, this is my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything. It's not a blanket statement, but the idea here is, let's say you say to them, I want you to put your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. Then you say, what do you want from me? Negotiate, right? Give them some power, give them some respect. Or more than you were when they were younger, when they needed more direction. Now they don't. They're teenagers, and parents usually expect too much from teenagers. They're going to go through some stuff. They got hormones, okay? Number 3 with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff, okay? Don't micromanage them. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say something like this. Well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. Everyone makes mistakes. So do they. So do you. It's okay to make mistakes. Just learn from it. Parents often expect more from their children than they expect from themselves, which is interesting. A 4-year-old won't stay in bed at night. Okay, check out my bedtime battles course. It goes from 2 to 8 years old. If they're 2, they can't be in a cot or a crib. They have to be in a bed. They have to be able to get out of bed. So, and people say, parents will often ask, when should they be going into a regular bed? I waited till my kids did the flop. As soon as they landed on the floor, the first time they get out of the cot, I dismantled it. I put the mattress, the crib mattress on the floor and surrounded it by pillows. And then I ended up getting a bigger bed, right? But that's what I did. I just used a mattress on the floor so that when they did fall out of bed, it was just rolling onto the floor. So, but yeah, so the bedtime battles course goes from 2 to 8 years old. It's in 2 parts. How to get them in bed, that's the easy part usually. The hard part is how to keep them there. I just worked with a family I think it was this morning. They did bedtime battles, and they couldn't believe how well it worked. Just worked beautifully. That was only session 2, and they said we'd be happy if we finish now. And they have 3 more sessions to go. But they said they got everything they needed out of that one bedtime battles thing. They got other stuff they're working on, but nothing huge. Okay. How do I handle 5-year-old that bit another child in school today? We got a call from a principal tonight. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what kind of parent you are, what kind of discipline you've got at home, what kind of behavior you put up with. I don't know. So I'd have to investigate that. Once the school starts to call, then that's more coaching. When the school is having problems, that's coaching. Usually. So yeah, if you want to work with me, send me an email. I can't take everyone on these days, but look into coaching first, decide if you want to sign up for it, and then send me an email. And I'll see if I have a space for you. Oh, okay. You're not going to like my answer. How to respond when I tell my 3-year-old to stop doing something and she says she's going to do it anyway. Okay, you don't give a consequence for that necessarily. You got to be very specific. What you're asking me is, how do you get a 3-year-old to listen to you? You set yourself up as a leader. It's not their fault they're not listening. It's yours. Set yourself up as a leader, and they just listen to leaders. They just do. So work on yourself. Check out my boot camp course. That might be a good fit for you. It starts at 3 years old. Teaches you how to set yourself up as a leader, and they do listen. When you're a leader. They don't listen when you're not. That's a tell. It just means they don't respect you. That's all. You got to work on yourself, not them. So what you're saying is, how do I get them to listen? Set yourself up as a leader and they will. They don't listen to non-leaders. They don't listen to parents they don't respect. So you got to earn their respect. You got to work for that. So I was just reading YouTube. What if they persist and don't follow up on the consequence in the behavior board? Have you not looked at the behavior board? There's a backup consequence. So yeah, that's what that's there for. There's 2 consequences for the kids. If they won't do the first one, you got a backup. You start with positive action. If you won't do it, then you do the negative deprivation. Take something away. Do you feel that some people need to change their personalities to become a leader? Absolutely not. No, it's just a process. It's a system. It's a method. Anyone can learn to do this. Do you need to have a different personality to do your taxes and do your bookkeeping? No. Do you need to have a different personality to clean your toilet? It's a process. It's something that you can learn how to do. You don't have to change your personality at all. By the way, I'm not a leader in my personal life at all. I'm more of a follower. I have no interest in knowing where I'm going, what time I want to be there. I hate planning anything. I hate organizing stuff. So I just hate it. So I'm very much a follower in my personal life. Yeah. So you tell me where we're going, what time to be there, what to eat. I don't want to make any decisions. None. So yeah. And yet kids, I know I really enjoy being with kids, but I don't enjoy being with disrespectful kids. So I get that respect cemented, mutual, back and forth. Then I can relax and enjoy them. That's how I do it. I remember I was just telling a client today, I remember years ago when I always wanted to be a mom because I was working with so many kids, volunteering everywhere with kids, and in some really difficult places too, with challenging kids. And I just had parenting built up, like mothering to me was just the world. And everyone used to say to me, well, Lisa, it's not as easy as you think it's going to be. It's hard work and sometimes blah, blah, blah. It was 100 times better than I thought it would be. It was the most fun I ever had in my whole life because I got respect when they were tiny. I wasn't dealing with other people's mistakes with kids. I just had my own. And I taught them how to respect me, and I respected them. And I could just sit back and relax them and enjoy them. It was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. It's the most fun I ever had. It was the best time of my whole life is raising kids. They're adults now. I don't get to tuck them in at night anymore. They're out on their own. I didn't mean to sound so disappointed. They're doing very well, but I miss mothering. I really miss it. It was my finest hour. I loved it. How do we help a 3-year-old who doesn't care about consequences and is physically violent to his sister? There again, you want to fix the kid. Are you a leader? If you're a leader, that wouldn't happen. Work on yourself. It's all I teach here is parenting. I don't teach kidding. Remember, we're not fixing kids. We're teaching parents here. Set yourself up as a leader. Look at the link above. You can get my free behavior board. That's a good place to start. It's completely free. You can look at my mini toddler courses, or you can look at my big boot camp course. If they're 3 to 12 years old, I always try and point people toward that boot camp course. Coaching is more expensive. It's one-on-one with me. That's for teenagers, or if you're a lot of people just want the one-on-one stuff. But anyway, I can't take everyone on with coaching because my schedule's pretty packed. But yeah, look into the boot camp course. Remember, we're not fixing kids. We're teaching parents. You lead, they will follow. Children need, crave, and want a leader. If you're not a leader for your children, you're putting them out there in the world very vulnerable. They're going to be very susceptible to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to go searching for a leader because they need one. They want one instinctively. They just do. But if you're not one, they're not going to treat you like one. You gotta earn that. You gotta know how to set yourself up as a leader. That's all I teach. How did you develop this method from the beginning? How'd you figure it out? I don't know. I was 11 and I was volunteering in daycare centers and babysitting when I was 11. And I was just always motherly. And I don't know. I always led with fun, but I never took any crap. And I remember parents used to say, "You mean they cleaned up their room? You mean they ate all their dinner?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I didn't understand how not to do that." I think it was just innate. I'm really bad at a lot of things, but kids always made sense to me. They just made sense. I've always found them easy to figure out. So I think we're all kind of born with maybe something that we're meant to do. I really think I was meant to do this. And then when I was volunteering with the delinquent teenagers, they told me, they said, "You got to teach this, Lisa. No one's ever talked to us like you do." So they told me to start the business. I didn't even think about that. I was just volunteering with kids for decades. How would you approach a 6-year-old that is scared to participate in sports and other activities? Throw them in. That's what I did with my son. He wasn't a joiner. I just threw him into the mix. "Well, you're going to do it." I said, "You have to try everything, but you only have to choose one activity per semester." So he would try a whole bunch. You know how they can just do one session, they get free, like turn up, see if they like it. So I made him try everything. And then he had to join one thing. So he didn't have a choice. My daughter's a joiner. She was born that way. Her schedule's always packed. Would you ever lose your cool with your kids, Lisa? Yeah, I would. And boy, did I pay for it too. I remember once, I don't really have much of a temper, but I remember once my 12-year-old son was trying to take out the garbage. And I'd always told him, pick up the garbage by the cans, not the lid, because the lid has 2 bins underneath it. So if you just pick it up from the lid, they'll fall apart, right? So he was going to take out the garbage. Sure enough, he picked it up by the lid. It went everywhere. And I'm really fussy, like really clean. And I just lost it. I didn't even really yell that much. I just went, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that." And I'd raise my voice. I'd never yelled before. And he was 12 and he turned pure white. His lips went white and everything. He'd never been yelled at. And he went in his room and I just felt horrible. So I said, "I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did that. You're just trying to do something nice." And so I bought him a PlayStation game, trying to make it up to him. So after that, every time he'd take out the garbage, he'd go, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa," trying to get another PlayStation game. So, but yeah, that's one time that stands out in my mind. And he said for years after that, because I'd never been yelled at. I'd never yelled at them before. And he said for years that was the most traumatic experience of his life. And my answer to that throughout the years when he was a teenager was, "Suck it up, princess. It wasn't that bad. You got a PlayStation game out of it." So yeah, just if you're not used to that, a parent losing it like that, it's very upsetting. He'd never been yelled at. That was the first time. So yeah, it cost me a PlayStation game. How would you suggest an authoritative style parent to loosen up and learn to lead and not order? Because they don't rebel in the teen years. With an authority, they will. With a leader, they don't. Yeah, like my son was 15 and he says, "I could never even rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to." Darn rights. Yeah. Yeah. They won't rebel in the teen years. That's the difference. What have they got to rebel against? I was too reasonable and easy to talk to. How do you view children? They're mini us's. That's how we were all kids at one time. I can literally, when I'm looking at kids, I can remember what it felt like to be 4, 11, 2. I can literally remember what it felt like because I've been studying kids my whole life. So, yeah, I can remember it just because that's how we all formed. If you understand children, you can understand yourself. So, yeah. Plus, you got to earn their respect. Don't expect if people are so like they should just respect me. That's garbage. You got to work for it. You got to earn it. You got to give respect to get it. I believe in a fair society with kids. Like I don't think that they should just be obedient soldiers. Who'd want that? That's awful. I wanted to be friends with my kids, but also mutual respect. But I was the leader. I mean, they didn't know how to pay the bills, cook the meals. I mean, I was in charge. I was the leader, right? So I knew that I wanted to have fun with my kids. That was my number one goal. Well, to raise nice kids, but to have fun with them. I wanted it to be fun, relaxing, and easy. But I put in the work. I earned that respect. I earned that leadership position. I had to work for it. Did you ever have to navigate co-parenting during a divorce or separation? Do you have any golden rules for navigating this? Well, I was separated. My kids were 9 and 14 when we split up, which was actually really easy because they never saw us fight before or after, and we didn't really fight. So not real fighters, and but we always got along. Like he used to come over for dinner every night for about the first 2 or 3 weeks after he moved out, just to make things easier for the kids. But it got to the point where they said, can you ask dad not to come over every night? Because they felt they had to entertain him because they couldn't just go off and do what they wanted. Because if they did, then it would just be him and I sitting there like, what was the point of divorcing, right? So anyway, get along. Put yourself second, your kids first. Love your kids more than you hate each other. Get along. That's my number one piece of advice is get along. They don't care. Alexa, stop. They don't care if you're together. They just care if you get along. That's all. If they see you fighting, they blame themselves. They take it personally. So yeah, just get along. We still went everywhere together. Like all their games and all that, we still went everywhere. And no one even knew we weren't together. People thought we were together because we got along. They were confused, So yeah, get along. You chose to have those kids. Get along with your ex. That's the father of your children. That's the father of my kids. I'm very lucky. I never thought of him as my ex. I always thought of him as the father of my kids. So, and now he's the grandfather of my granddaughter, like that's his position in my life. And they're there forever. And, but yeah, so just get along. Get along. It's not about you. It's about your kids. I got to go. I got to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. And I'm on YouTube the whole time I'm doing these lives. Oops, my screen's dying out. And these lives are all saved on YouTube if you're interested. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And I'm going over to TikTok now. Happy parenting. Okay. I'm just waiting. I just have to take a break with my voice. Hello, I'm just waiting for people to turn up. I like to give my voice a bit of a break sometimes. It's a whole bunch of stuff here on TikTok. I don't know what it means. I never did. I never know what any of this stuff means. Doesn't matter. I don't understand social media. My daughter does all my social media, all my marketing. Yeah, if you get an email or see a video, she's done all that. Okay, so anyway, I'll get going. We've got about 50 people here. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Anyway, you can go in the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, so you can look into coaching. My schedule is pretty tight these days, but I do have parents I'm finishing up with and coaching, so I do get openings from time to time. Anyway, so let's get going with your parenting questions. I'll do my best to answer those. And okay, how would you cope with toddlers 2.5 years, their extreme picky eating habits? Yeah, I don't really discuss nutrition, but I'll tell you what I did with my kids, and most people would not want to do this, but I made everything from scratch. And I was very good at pureeing healthy stuff and hiding it into everything. I made all my own bread, everything. I made all the pizza dough, I made all the sauces, I made everything from scratch. So I had pureed spinach, pureed flax seeds, wheat germ, whatever, I put that into everything. So yeah. And I didn't have any junk food in the house. There was no ice cream and potato chips in our house. It was nothing but healthy food. So that's all they knew. And then as they got older, they started going to birthday parties. I just said, eat whatever you want, right? I'm not going to micromanage that. And then they always came home with stomach aches because they weren't used to all that garbage, right? They weren't used to all that sugar and fat and all that stuff. So yeah. But yeah, I just didn't have junk food around. So they just got used to eating healthy. I grew up around yelling, so now it's a hard habit to break with my kids. Just because it was done to you doesn't mean you have to do it to your kids. You know, you can break that cycle. I think a lot of people sort of say that as if they don't have a choice. You do have a choice in whether or not you yell. If you look at the behavior board, no yelling is always the parent's rule if they yell. So check out the behavior board. That's completely free. It's in the link above. If you want to work on just setting yourself up as a leader, then you might want to look at the boot camp course. That's 3 to 12 years old. It's all about your leadership. Do your kids binge on junk food now as adults? No. My daughter's actually, and she doesn't do this as a living, but she has a, what's it called, holistic nutritionist background. Yeah, extremely into healthy eating. And my son's pretty healthy, but they both work out, and we're all pretty healthy because they were raised like that, right? Got to hide the snacks. Yeah, we didn't have any. I remember the first time my son had pizza when he was out somewhere and he was little, and he said the sauce was really weird. It was red. Well, that's because my sauce was brown because it had pureed spinach in it. Are your kids the same way with their kids as you were? I've only got one grandchild and she's only 4 months old, so time will tell. I think, just looking at them now, his girlfriend, the mom, and my son, and I think he's going to be more the pleaser. I think she's going to be a leader. I think she's going to have that covered. I think she'll do very well. I think he knows that. That's why I think he'll be more the pleaser. I'm just guessing. I could be wrong. It's none of my business, though. They're kids. Do you approve or disapprove of Miss Rachel content? I haven't got a clue who she is. I don't have a clue. I never, ever look at anyone else because I only teach. Why would I do that? I don't need to learn. Like, I teach through my own experience. I've never read a book on kids or parenting or anything. So yeah, I have no idea who that is. I love how you talk about your daughter, not very respectful. Well, yeah, that's my son's girlfriend. That's the mother of my granddaughter. She's she's doing very good. She's a good mom. I'm very lucky. She's not just good with the baby. She's also not possessive. Like when you hold the baby, she's quite happy to let you hold. You know what I mean? Like she's just got a really relaxed. She's very good with the baby. So I think she'll be very good. Plus, why wouldn't you respect your daughter-in-law? I don't understand that. I'm lucky. I like both of my kids' partners. But even if I didn't, I would still be very nice to them. But I do like them both. Because think about it this way: if you're ever rude or insulting towards who your children choose as partners, aren't you kind of insulting your kid? That's who they choose to be with. You support them. Do you love them or you? Make You're just going to make them feel bad. Do you really want to make your kid feel bad by insulting their partner? I just don't see that as a loving parent thing to do. A lot of mothers to sons have a very hard time letting go of their child in parenting. Yeah, that's on them. That's selfish, though. That's just about them, right? I love my kids enough to do what makes them happy, not what. And I'm happy if they're happy, right? This is really cute. He'll probably hear this because my daughter edits all my videos. But I was telling my daughter, I said, oh, you're so lucky. She got a real gem of a mother-in-law. She's just a doll. And then I said, oh, and she said, yeah, Mom and I were saying how much I lucked out. And my son-in-law said, I'm lucky too. He was talking about me. So I heard that, if you can hear this. Can both parents be a leader? Yes, but there's always one that's stronger. It's just the way it is. There's always one that trumps the other. It's just the way it is. There's nothing wrong with that. You only need one leader. My mom was the leader. My dad was the pleaser. But the pleaser has to defer to the leader. A good example of this is my dad was a real pushover when it came to me. As I was getting older, my mom started saying to him, don't let her get away with everything. So anyway, I remember once I said to my dad, Daddy, can I please have that? And it was something I knew Mom wouldn't want me to have. And he said, sure, sweetie pie, you can have anything you want. And I'm like, so then he said, let's check with your mom. And I went, oh, never mind. So he started learning to defer to my mom. And the same with our household. If our kids wanted to get away with something, they'd go to Deb. He would just say, let's check with Mom. Oh, never mind. So it works beautifully. You don't need two leaders. But you need, if you've got an authority and a leader would never be in the same family. It doesn't work. They don't mix together. But a leader and a pleaser, it's almost always the way. But the pleaser defers to the leader. If necessary, like if anything comes up, you say, well, let's check with Mom or let's check with Dad. How do you stop backtalk? You don't stop backtalk. You set yourself up as a leader and backtalk doesn't happen. Backtalk is a sign that you're not a leader, that they don't respect you. That's the product of your lack of leadership. So work on your leadership skills. That's all this is. It's all it is. It's you. It's your leadership or lack of it. They don't backtalk a parent or anybody that they look up to, that they respect. They just don't. Have you ever looked up to anyone like a mentor? Have you ever had a favorite teacher or coach that you looked up to when you were a kid? Would you ever backtalk them? No. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. Check out my boot camp course. It's in the link above. That's where I teach leadership. It's 5 weeks. How would you tell your child that their mother isn't their biological parent? Well, I'm adopted, so secrets imply shame. I was told from a very young age, right off the bat, that I was adopted. I had this little black doll that I absolutely adored. I had that thing till I was 30. It was made out of like soft rubbery and it shriveled up into a raisin. And then I had to throw it out and I cried when I threw it out. I was 30 years old and I cried. I wrapped it up in a blanket and put it in the dumpster. Oh, it was crazy. Anyway, so yeah, she told me that I adopted my little doll. I think I was 2 or 3 when she told me this, and that I was chosen and adopted. So, secrets imply shame. I was proud of being adopted. I thought, wow, I was chosen. Everyone else was just had. I was special because I was chosen. That's how I believed it to be. And that was back in the day when there was a stigma attached to being adopted. Whereas me, I was telling everyone, hi, I'm Lisa and I'm adopted. I was so proud of it because mom sold it to me like I was more special than all the other kids that weren't adopted. And then she got phone calls from the moms in the neighborhood. Can you please tell Lisa to tell our kids they're special too, just because they were had? So anyway, so I had to go around and say, yeah, you're special too. I didn't believe it though. I thought I was more special. How do you become a leader without yelling at them? Leaders don't yell. The dictators, authorities yell. Pleaser parent style, they yell too. But yeah, leaders don't yell. You don't need to. Like my son used to say, he used to tell other kids if I was going to babysit, if my mom ever whispers, run. That's when I'm disciplining. So I get real quiet, very calm, very quiet. Yeah, yelling implies that you are not a leader at all, because it's a sign of loss of control, right? Leaders don't lose control. Middle school boy is having trouble finding his place and being confident. Oh, yeah, middle school. I would say that about probably 80% of kids in middle school, maybe even 90. Middle school is the toughest. That's, what is it, 7, 8, 9? 6, 7, 8. It depends on where you live, actually, but it's right around between 11 and 13, around there. It is the toughest age. Yeah, it's just awkward. Not much you can do. I mean, make sure you've got a really strong home life. That helps carry them through pretty much anything. If you've got a really good home life and you have fun with your kids, that can help them survive just about anything. But also get them out. School is a very tiny pool to pull from when it comes to friends and popularity and all that. So have them go out and do activities outside of their district where they're not just stuck with the same kids all the time who maybe have their little cliques or cliques or whatever you want to call them. So yeah, put them involved in things that are outside of your school district so they can meet other kids. Would you ignore a tantrum when they're in public and it's interrupting people? I would never allow my kids to interrupt people out in public, but I would pull them off to a parking lot or in the car, let them do it there. Then I ignore them. I don't talk to them while I'm carrying them out, though, or dragging them out. I just put them in a place where they're not disturbing people. What's one of your most favorite moments of your career? Geez, that's an interesting one. I know my worst moment in coaching was last week. 17 years, it was my worst moment. And I just talked to that client again yesterday and told them. And they understand. I had to tell them something really difficult. It was my worst moment in my business. I didn't get a lot of sleep that night. But I had to tell the parents something. Anyway, my best moments, I've had quite a few. I would say it's when parents say to me, they turn up after a few sessions and they're crying and they say, I've never enjoyed my kids more. Thank you for helping me to enjoy my kids. That's just why I do this. I love it. I just love it. I'm floating on air after that. So yeah, I had one today that was really good. Yeah, it was a good one. So yeah, when parents say that they're enjoying their kids. How long should a tantrum go on for that I allow for? The longest I ever heard of was an older kid. This was years and years ago. He was about 6 or 7, I think. And this kid was in charge. I mean, these parents, they had a ton of money and they just bought him whatever he wanted just to shut him up. It was just a disaster. So anyway, they hired me. They actually had to hire me a couple times, 2 or 3 times, because they just were struggling. So I said, you just have to let him go for as long as it takes. Anyway, he had a tantrum for 4 or 5 hours and it was throwing up, just about passing out. He was sweating. And he was older. So that was he never had another tantrum after that. I said, you're going to have to wait him out. And they did. I said, he'll survive. They were there. They had cool cloths if he needed it. I mean, but they never talked to him or looked at him. And it was about 4 or 5 hours. That was the longest I ever heard of. But then he never had another tantrum after that. And the parents didn't have to keep hiring me after that. They just had to get past that hurdle, So usually it's 20, 30 minutes. It can go on for about an hour. Do you have any experience with autistic kids? Oh, yeah, a ton. That's only in coaching, though. I only deal with I call that specialty work. I only deal with that in coaching. Crisis work, teenage stuff, all the stuff you can imagine with teenagers, trauma, abuse, or any disabilities or challenges. That's all coaching. So one-on-one coaching with me. So I started my business doing teen crisis work. And that was my comfort zone. I did that for years. And then I was doing the news one night. I used to do a lot of TV and stuff like that. And I was doing the news and they introduced me on the news as the crisis queen. And I didn't like that. I mean, they were very nice, but I didn't want to be known for crisis work. And then I realized I want to prevent that. So I don't lead with it, but I still do it. Yeah. Teenagers are my favorite age. Do you talk to them after, during the tantrum? No, you never discuss the tantrum before, during, or after. What's the point? Remember that scene that you just had where you lost your mind? Let's discuss it. How would you discuss that? There's two things that I argue. When I get child psychologists as clients, we argue over that one. There's two things we argue over. That's one of them. No, you should discuss there. You do not need to validate any feelings before, during, or after a tantrum. Absolutely not. You do not need to validate every single thought and feeling a child has. I would never validate or discuss or put any weight or any attention or any focus into a tantrum before, during, or after. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. There's no way I would discuss that. No way. Anyway, maybe they think they win, but I'm pretty sure I win that battle. Okay. How to get my 14-year-old to go to school. He missed many. Well, you have to hire me for that. I don't know your dynamic. I don't know the history. I don't know what's going on. That would be coaching. Who wants to discuss those moments? It's about moving on and moving forward. There's no lesson to be learned from discussing a tantrum. Nothing. A tantrum is a loss of emotional control at not getting what they want. Do you really need to address that? They will eventually learn. They'll never get what they want when they act like that. Like, they have to accept the word no sometimes. That's their process. Let them have that. Let them process the fact that they have to learn how to process the word no. That's how they do it. Yeah, move on, move forward. That's like a lot of my clients. I'm not a therapist. Like, I don't listen to problems. I get enough information to move forward, and I interrupt clients once I get enough information. I know where I want to go, right? And we discuss things as we go along. But I don't like dwelling on the past, because if you were doing things wrong in the past, I need a little bit of information. But why do we need to discuss what you were doing wrong? Don't we need to discuss what you should be doing right? It's like if you go to a diet center, do you need to learn how you gained all that weight, or do you want to learn how to lose it? I'm solution based. Yeah. Although sometimes in crisis work, I do get some pretty hardcore, heavy abuse, trauma stuff, PTSD and stuff. We have to go through some of that, but I usually just give them tools on how to work through it. But generally, no, I don't focus on the negative. I focus on the positive. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. That's why I always say you deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. Your focus is to get the good kid out, not constantly talk about the bad kid. And don't discuss what they did wrong. Don't go on about it. It's like, yeah. And another thing that's wrong with you. And let's discuss how you're rotten again. Like, it's just ridiculous. Don't lecture them about what they did wrong. They already know. Let it go. Give them a chance to do right instead of leaning on all the bad stuff. Too many parents do that. They want to keep harping on what they did wrong. And another thing you did wrong. Remember yesterday? Don't do that again. Remember when you did that? That's mean. A few people have asked to be invited on here, just so you know. I never let anyone come in on a live. I did it once 2 years ago when I first started doing lives, and they just started talking about their business. They wanted, because I had like thousands of people that used to turn up to these lives when I first went on, because someone big was sharing them. I think my one live, I had 26,000 people in one live. And I guess they didn't like me that much. They never shared me again. But it was someone huge on TikTok, and they shared it. Watch this live. So and I was brand new at it. Anyway, I stupidly let someone come in, and they just tried to use my audience to sell their stuff. I was horrified. I got rid of them so fast. I've never let anyone in again. Your husband lectures tend to be the opposite. It's hard parenting, two different parenting styles. Yeah, you gotta, yeah. Lecturing is, do you like it? When someone lectures you on what you did wrong, you already know what you did wrong. Do you really want to hear about it over and over and over again? Yeah. Does he like to be lectured on how he lectures? Why don't you give him a lecture on his lecturing? See how he likes that. Yeah. He doesn't like to be lectured to, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. So don't always correct them on everything. Yeah, you do. But then you move on. You got to check out the boot camp course that explains this. You deal with bad behavior. I don't let anything go. You deal with bad behavior, but you do let a lot go initially when you're learning how to do this. But you deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. Then you get away from that as soon as possible. The negative is very quick. The discipline is very quick. It's like a business transaction. Get it done. I didn't like that. You're going to be cleaning that window. Do you understand? Okay, clean the window. And then, okay, do you want to go to the park? You switch it as fast as possible. And there's no anger when you're disciplining either. If you're angry, you're not doing it right. It's like a business transaction. No emotions when you're disciplining. It's just, yeah, that was a mistake. So here's what we're going to do. Okay, I want you to empty the dishwasher. Okay, I'll give you 15 minutes. Okay, there you go. Okay, actually, I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm finished my lives now. All my lives are saved on YouTube if you're interested. If not, then don't go to YouTube. But anyway, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I've got one more live group coaching session on that boot camp course. That was just a one-off series where I did 6 weekly group coaching sessions within the course. It was just an extra that I added in because they're actually put on the course now because I want you to see other parents and what they're going through. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So I've just got one more this Saturday and then that's it. And anyway, thanks so much for joining me and we'll talk again soon. Happy parenting.